available now on Blu-ray at long last from Full Moon Features or Full Moon Productions, is the decades in the making, literally, the Primevals. It's just been released. This is a film that began production in the 70s and over the years was worked on and finally was completed. The bulk of what we see in this film, I believe, was shot in the early 90s, and it stars, directed by David Allen, it stars Juliet Mills from Beyond the Door 2, among other things, Nanny and the Professor, Richard Joseph Paul, Leon Russom as Rondo Montana. Leon Russom you'd recognize. I believe he played the Beverly Hills, or the cop who throws a mug at Jeff Bridges' face in The Big Lebowski. Film is 91 minutes long. This is the Blu-ray we're talking about here. And boy, is this fun. This is a throwback to the Ray Harryhausen movies I watched on the SFM Holiday Network on TV as a kid. This is a throwback to old-style monster movies and adventure movies, and it's pretty squeaky clean, and I would highly recommend it. And that's not all. I will talk about what the movie's about. So the film, as I said, was started decades earlier. It's heavy on stop motion. That's the deal with this. It's got stop motion creatures. The story shows some villagers somewhere like in Nepal or something like that. There's a problem and they go out and there's a giant Yeti and they fight the Yeti and it gets buried. I'm not going to tell you the whole story. Yeti gets buried in an avalanche and later is on display in an American museum. Juliet Mills is studying the creature, and they decide they want to try to find a live one so they can study it and find out what makes it tick and how it survived, and are there more? So she sets out to create an expedition to go off to the snowy mountain climbs to try to find a Yeti, and what they find is a whole lot more than a Yeti. This was so much fun. I did not expect much. Full Moon is very hit and miss. When I hear something took decades to make, it doesn't always say to me that is going to be a success, but boy, am I glad they finished this. So the original production apparently started in like 1978. In the credits, there says something about 1978 team. It's a lot of old style stop motion creatures of all shapes and sizes. It is a wonderful, fanciful storyline that you'd never expect unless you watch the trailer or look at this too much. You don't really know where it's going to go. I went in pretty blind. I mean, the cover shows creatures, so I'm like, oh, there's going to be creatures in this. But where the story went was just wonderful, and it reminded me of being a kid. It's so much fun. It's really nicely shot. I don't know how much of it was stock footage and how much of it was them actually going somewhere, but there are these nature scenes of giant mountain expanses, and I'm just like, this movie looks really good. This movie looks a lot more expensive than it probably was. I must say that there are multiple editions of this film that you can get on Blu-ray. I don't know if it was a Kickstarter or if it was a special bundle or if there are multiples that are available. The one I have is totally bare bones, and I was kind of bummed about that because watching it and kind of knowing a little bit about the story behind it, I really wanted a commentary where it's like, well, how did this movie come to be? I wanted a lot more. There is an edition that has that. There is an edition that I don't have to review, but it's out there, that gives you a couple of versions of the film, that gives you multiple discs. It gives you all kinds of goodies and swag, maybe even like figures and stuff like that. That is so totally worth seeking out. But if you are only ever going to see this on this Blu-ray that I'm talking about, the no frills version, or if you're going to see this movie streaming, it's still a good movie. I just now, like, as soon as it was over, I'm like, I want to know more about this. It reminded me so much of things like The Land That Time Forgot, Journey to the Center of the Earth. There's that Spanish movie with that sort of was like a Journey to the Center of the Earth. There's like a Fabulous World of Jules Verne or something like the Fabulous Journey to the Center of the Earth or something like that. It reminded me of all that stuff that I like, and this stands proudly right next to those. Like those, there's no great dynamic acting in it. Juliet Mills is good. Everybody in it is good. You're really more there for the creatures and for the effects, and the effects and the creatures are really good. It was interesting to see in the credits that Phil Tippett was originally involved with this film. I don't know how much of that original animation that was done back then is included in this. I presume it probably is, but it looks great. The effects are good. The music score is really lush and good. It makes this film seem bigger than it is. And it doesn't feel like it has a lot of modern CGI jiggery-pokery messing around with it. There probably is, but it doesn't stick out like it does in so many other things. Yes, it doesn't look like a real Yeti. Yes, it looks, not that I could tell you what a real Yeti looks like, but it doesn't look like CGI junk it looks like something that's really there. And that's what I always have to say about old practical effects. We never believed that the things that we saw, we never believed that the guy was fighting actual skeletons in that old Sinbad movie, but it looked like it was a physical thing that existed in reality. And so much CGI, especially the lower end CGI, does not. It looks like it's something that's slapped on top of, the film frame. So it's so much fun. It's totally PG. There's no profanity. There's no nudity. There's no violence. It feels like the live action stuff feels like a higher end Full Moon film in the best sense of that word, in that it's not like lavish and the performances aren't great, but it's totally serviceable. It apparently was shot in the US and Romania at the time. And I know Romania was a place in the early 90s that a lot of people shot, especially Full Moon shot a lot there because it was non-union and it was cheap. It was just really good. It was just really, really fun. I highly recommend this. If you are somebody who likes old style monster movies, if you grew up watching the stuff I like, if you like Harryhausen stuff, it's totally something you should see. And it's one that you can show to kids or the elderly or the infirm or whatever. The only special feature on the disc that I have is a trailer, which is 2 minutes and basically a condensed version of the film. So I would recommend not watching that trailer, because watch this going in knowing it's going to have good creatures and special effects and stop motion, and just go along for the ride like I did. Maybe look at the cover like I did, and you look at that cover and you're like, damn, I want to see that. So that's the cover. My note saying that there is a more deluxe edition of that. The back is text and stuff like that. And the disc, as I say, it's pretty no frills, the standard edition, but it's absolutely worth picking up. I really, really liked this movie, and this is what I'm going to keep telling other people who share my sensibilities to see on Blu-ray at last from Full Moon Productions, The Primevals.